Is there further debate? Good lady from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a lot of concerns with this bill, and this bill's not going to save any babies. So the first thing I think we have to remember is our Idaho state law is very clear. A fetus is a baby. To kill a baby is murder, but we give exemptions to that for abortion. Now, abortion is just a sanitized way to say murder, because we already are saying that to kill a baby or to kill a fetus is murder. So what I don't like about this bill is right now it's murder to kill a baby, but we're going to add a new term to Idaho code called criminal abortion. Well, criminal abortion is a sanitized way to say murder. I don't like changing the word. Right now it's murder, now it's going to be criminal abortion. And if every life is equal, as we take an oath to the Constitution to say every life is equal, and we say a fetus is a baby and that life is just as equal, then why, for a criminal abortion or a certain type of murder, are we given less time, 2 to 5 years, when in other cases that's not, we're basically saying that this human life is not as important as other life because it's smaller or it's younger. So that's a big problem I have with this bill. The other problem I have is it's a trigger bill. And I brought this up before. If it wasn't Roe versus Wade, and what if it was Roe versus Ruger, and a trigger bill on guns? If we start going down this road of judicial supremacy, where whatever the Supreme Court, our supreme God, and we basically say the Supreme Court is God, and the decisions they make are what we will bow down to. What happens when that Supreme Court makes a ruling on guns that this body doesn't like? Well, we've set it in precedence here that, well, maybe we'll let you have your guns back when the Supreme Court changes their mind. Let me just tell you a little bit about the Supreme Court. They're not going to change their mind. Even for the Dred Scott case, they never changed their ruling. If you go back and read that case, it still says, it still does not treat people equally. And for those of you who think, well, now that we've got a Republican president, he can put all these Republican Supreme Court justices in. Well, 15 of the last 19 Supreme Court justices were Republican appointees, and we're not one step closer. And just because the Supreme Court changes its decision, which they're not going to, we have, I think we have over 15 or I don't have the number here. We have a lot of other cases that have just confirmed this Roe versus Wade. So I have another problem with this bill too, other than changing murder to criminal abortion and bowing down to judicial supremacy. If you look on page 3 of the bill, we're saying even if Roe versus Wade gets, or on page 2, even if Roe versus Wade gets overturned, we're still going to allow the murder of some babies, because it depends on how that baby was conceived. And if it was under certain conditions, well, they're not as important as all the other babies. So by putting for lines on page 2, lines 6 through 18, by putting exemptions in there for certain types of abortions being okay, we're basically saying these babies are not as important as the other babies. And then the last problem I have is page 2, line 26 through 28. And it talks about, it basically talks about women can never be in trouble for this. And where I have a problem with this is there's a gentleman in my district who killed a pregnant lady. And his name is Jeremy Swanson. And he is in prison right now for a double homicide. That same person that was pregnant could have gone and got an abortion, and then she does not get a homicide for that, where it's unequal protection under the law. A man that kills a fetus is going to prison, but a woman that kills a fetus, she's treated completely different. So those are some of my main concerns with this bill, and I just am tired of these so-called pro-life bills, and Idaho continues to choose death for these babies. We continue to go down this road. Idaho is not choosing life; we are choosing death over and over again by continually putting this language in our law. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good lady from 7.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor of the bill yield to a question?
Will the good lady yield?
Lady yields.
Lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. Is there anywhere in the language of this bill that says or that outlaws the abortion pill?
Lady from 23.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't specifically call out an abortion pill in the language.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and debate, Mr. Speaker. I hate to say much on this subject. It's a very sensitive subject, especially when it can be used for or against you in an election year. I am very pro-life. I have a strong faith in our Creator, and as a mother of 2, I could never, ever support taking a child at all. So that is where I stand. But when I look at this legislation, there's just a couple of concerns that causes me to pause. The first one has to do with yielding to the Supreme Court. And in the language it says, this law will not do anything unless any decision of the Supreme Court restores to the states their authority to prohibit abortion. Unfortunately, there's not just one Supreme Court decision that has made abortion legal. There's actually 37 different decisions over nearly a 50-year time span that have put us where we are today. So there's not just one decision by the Supreme Court that's going to fix this problem. There's 37 different variations of it. So the Supreme Court is not going to fix this problem. My second problem with this is that it does not outlaw an abortion pill. Nearly half of the abortions in Idaho are done with a pill. It's actually a series of taking a pill in 3 different instances to kill your baby. It can be prescribed. You can get it in the mail. You can get it from a doctor over the phone. So if this were to go into effect, if the Supreme Court were to make one ruling that would wipe out all 37 previous cases, and this were to go into effect, we would then just have a bunch of women taking the abortion pill. I mean, we would just see a switch in the percentage. Instead of half, maybe it would be all of them. And so to me, this language does not save the life of one baby. And therefore, I don't get it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.